Howdy y'all, I'm Wayne from Dallas, Texas, home of this coffee shop. It's British. It's right by my house. I don't know, is that a coffee shop you recognize? Do you have that over there in England? They claim to be a British coffee shop, trying to compete with Starbucks. Anyway, I'm a Texan. I react to all things UK, everything about your culture, your food, your places. I want to learn as much as I can, so please leave any suggestions of videos in the comments. Let me know where you're listening from. And I've got a video today. I had a suggestion that I watch a video about driving in the UK. And so I looked one up here. I found this one called The Do's and Don'ts of Driving in England as an American. Now, I have listened to this channel before. It's called Walter's World. I'll leave a link in the description. I know this guy travels, he's an American, he travels around the world and the United States, and he does these videos. I've not seen this one, so I'm really curious. I mean, of course, we drive on different sides of the road. You know, I feel like I could figure it out, pretty coordinated, but you never know, and I think the signs would be different, so that might be something I'd have to learn. I don't know what else the major differences would be, but let's get in this video and check it out.
Walter's World, and today we're here in Stratford-upon-Avon, and today we're going to talk about some of the don'ts of driving in England. And I want to tell you this right now: don't be scared off because they drive on the left. I know if you're coming from the US or you're coming from Canada or other places where we drive on the right, it does seem a bit daunting. And it's not just the fact that you end up sitting in the wrong seat when you first get in the car, it's also dealing with the traffic oncoming that way, and it's just a different feel that you have.
Looked like he was coming out.
I gotta tell you, don't worry, after about a half hour of driving, you'll totally get it. It'll be a lot easier, but it's just...
I can see how that is a little daunting, but it probably just takes a little bit of getting used to.
That first half hour that you're a little freaked out, okay? But don't let it stop you from coming to England and driving around England, because I got to tell you this. Don't think you can truly explore England without having your own car. Because yes, you can go to the different cities, you could do that, but to get into the smaller places and to get to the stately manor homes, you really got to have your own transportation. Yes, there's public transportation that can take you a lot of the places, but to really control your own destiny when you're here in England, like outside of Liverpool and London and those things, having a car is really important. And when you are renting your car, don't worry, there are plenty of options for places you can rent from, whether you go for local places or international chains. That's not going to be an issue. The issue I'm going to tell you is when you're renting a car, don't forget you might not get an automatic. There's a lot of manual cars here. Now, this is one of the things that's really changed in England over the last 10 years or so. There's so many more automatic cars. That's a lot easier to get. So if you didn't learn how to drive stick shift, don't worry,
I can drive a
it'll be
stick.
okay, all right? You
I
just
grew
have
up
to note
in the
that when you're
country.
renting it. It will be probably a different price. Not necessarily, but it could be. But I will say, if you are driving stick, don't forget the reverse. You might have a little plunger you got to pull up to put in reverse. Because I know when Josh and I have been driving around, at first we're like, wait, why can't I get it in reverse? What's going on here? There's a little plunger underneath. You just pull and get it in there. And I'm saying that first because it's probably the first issue you're going to have.
So yeah, a lot of folks in the United States, they can't drive a stick shift. Most of the cars are just sold as automatic. People grow up, they learn to drive an automatic. Some of us folks that grew up maybe in the country, our first cars were stick shifts, and so you learned that first. But I could see how some Americans they never even tried, but I think it'd be okay.
You try to back out of your parking spot at the rental agency. Now, if you are going to be driving around England, I'm going to tell you this: don't drive in London with the congestion fees and the traffic. It's not worth it. So what I recommend you do, if you're going to be flying into Heathrow or Gatwick, decide, do you want London first or last on your English adventure? If it's last, which I recommend, fly into Heathrow, fly into Gatwick, get your car there, and then go drive out and explore. And then when you come back, you drop it off there, and then you take public transportation into the city.
Yeah, that's like our big cities here.
Ever drive in London. Please, for the love of God, you do not want to do that. And it's not just the Clark Griswold, oh look kids, Big Ben Parliament issues. Just Just don't. Now, when you are renting your car, I'm going to tell you this. Don't forget the accoutrement when you buy it. Now, first thing is,
Same in New York
get the
City,
GPS for the car. Because your phone, well, is
Chicago.
awesome. Don't get me wrong. It does really well in certain places. But as you drive around the country, you'll notice you're not going to have a great signal everywhere. So you might have a signal on your phone to get the GPS kind of telling you when to turn or keeping things up. So that's one thing I really worry
Is my phone GPS not going to work?
about. Also on the roundabouts, I find the GPS like specific things here in England do a much better job of getting you off on the right turn than your phone does. I always find the phone ones are like about 10 seconds behind the GPS one in terms of the roundabouts, and therefore you're going around the roundabout again and again. And I guess I should talk about the roundabouts, okay? Don't think you're gonna have a lot of traffic lights when you're here, okay? It's roundabout city, county, everywhere here, okay? And when you're coming at a roundabout,
Okay, that's a good
don't forget,
tip.
it depends where you're gonna go. If you're gonna go straight, you're on the left side, okay? If you're gonna take a right in the roundabout, you're gonna be on the right side, but you don't take a right there, you have to go around the circle. And so what you do is you merge in as the traffic's going. You don't just barge
We're getting
into
a
it.
lot
See, there's
more
little spot,
here.
you merge in as
A
you
lot
go
more
around,
roundabouts.
and as you get close to your exit, you move farther out towards the outside of the circle, right? So you can do that and just turn right off there. And therefore, it's a lot safer that way. And don't worry, if you can't make your turn, you can go back around again and get the, turn off when you need it. But that is one of the things that really kind of freaks you out at first. Like, wait, when do I need to go? Just know farther out, it's when you're going to turn off, okay? Think of this kind of peeling off little by little as you go around. Now, when you are driving around, a lot of people get worried, well, what happens if I get tickets? Or what are the main ticket things I need to think about?
I think I'll be okay with that.
Well, one, don't worry, the cops aren't pulling you over, probably. They have their lights on, okay, when you're here regardless, so you don't have to worry about that one. But I would say this, is don't mess with the speed cameras and don't mess with the bus lanes because they have cameras everywhere, okay? The speed cameras, the parking cameras, the traffic cameras, you gotta watch out for that. You may be going and all of a sudden it says, oh, there's a bus lane out of nowhere, and you drive through that, you could be in the middle of nowhere. They're gonna find you, they're gonna fine you, and don't think because you have a rental car, they're not gonna fine you, because that ticket, it'll show up eventually in the mail for you to pay. Now, a little school lesson for you. Don't forget your letters. M is the motorway. That's the big highway, limited access highway kind of stuff. A, think of A as a road, okay? And so you have more access to it, more roundabouts on it, more kind of going through the city kind of thing. So I like to think the motorway is like the highway and the A roads are more state or county highways or state roads. That kind of gives you a better feel for it. I mention that because if you're on one of the M's, they're usually faster. Now, traffic can always be fun here, but just so you know that's going to give you much more of a faster drive than usually the A roads do. I will say this though, don't trust your Google Maps saying how long it's going to take to get somewhere because of all the hills and the windy roads and the roundabouts. It takes longer than what a
Those roads look really small whenever I see them.
what I find Google Maps tells you to do. That's why I say just do the GPS thing. It makes life easier, but just know that you're going to be going a lot slower than you think you're going to be going when you look at that route just because of how the roads are. And especially if you're going to do some of the back roads, when you're driving through the hedgerows, don't be surprised if you have to pull off into a hedge to let someone by. Because they have these big hedgerows in certain parts of the country, and it's a small, one lane, 1.5 lane road, and you're like, oh, what do we do? Somebody has to pull to the side. So you kind of pull in, person goes by, and you go, or they might do it for you. Because honestly, don't expect big roads when you're driving through the back parts of England, no matter where you are. Oh, and a little vocabulary lesson for you. Don't forget it's petrol here, not gas. Make sure you do check what kind you need to use in your car, because there might be a diesel, there might be petrol. So you want to think about that. Now, to throw you off even more, don't forget your math when you're here, because when you're doing distances, that's in miles, but when you're filling up your car, that's in liters.
Right.
So that can be a bit confusing. And I will say, don't have sticker shock when you see the gas prices or the petrol prices when you are here. Yeah, it's going to be more than if you're coming from the U.S. or Canada. Just be aware of that. But overall, for European prices, I find them pretty fair. So it's not too bad. It's not going to totally bust your budget. But just remember when you're looking at the prices, is that liters or gallons? What's going on here? That might give you a little sticker shock when you fill up. Another thing.
Okay, so I saw a Texaco sign. You have Texaco petrol stations there. So Texaco was originally a Texas oil company. So that's interesting. We have Texacos here all the time. Now, I get the miles and the meters things. Don't you still use miles there, though, as well? I watch a lot of cycling, and that's a sport where everything's in meters, kilometers, So I have a pretty good idea of how I can translate that in my head for the most part.
Thing that I noticed when I used to drive around here a lot in England, don't mention to the locals that at home you drive like 7 or 8 hours straight and it's no big deal. Because I
Our
found
gas
here in
is a
England,
lot
if you get
cheaper
anything
here.
more than like 2 hours in a row, people are like, oh, you need to take a break. That's a long drive. We need to stop for a cuppa, or we need to, maybe we'll get a coffee, or maybe we get a snack or something. I'm like, yeah, or we can do the 3-hour drive in one go and just be there. So be aware of that. Now, another driving don't I have for you, which also works for when you're a pedestrian going around towns that you're visiting.
Yeah, we drive crazy amounts because it's far. Literally, I could start driving right now, straight, no stops, 8 hours, and still be in my home state of Texas. That's no lie. So, I live in Dallas. If I want to go to Austin, it's going to take me 2 or 3 hours. San Antonio, about 5 hours. Houston, 4 or 5 hours. It depends on traffic. Our highways are huge, but often just loaded with traffic. Say you're getting into Houston from the outside of town. You're like, oh, wow, downtown Houston's only 10 miles away. But then it takes you an hour to get there. So drives can be long. Drives can be far. Where I live here in the Dallas area, we have a sister city called Fort Worth, which is next door to us, and there are just literally hundreds of cities all around this DFW Metroplex. It can easily, if you start on the west side of the Metroplex and drive all the way to the east side, it's 2, 3, it could be 4 hours with traffic. And that's just basically in one Metroplex. So yeah, for us driving long distances, it's not that big of a deal.
Is don't forget they drive on the left. Now I know I said that before, but I'm going to say it again because enough people forget that when you're coming out of some of the airports, you notice people on a little bit of the wrong side of the road. So don't forget, stay left when you drive. And when you are driving around, if you're going to be visiting some of these smaller towns, you're going to stay in the B&Bs and everything, I got to tell you this, don't forget to ask what the parking situation is where you're going to stay. Because some places, like where we're staying here, they actually have a parking garage that we can park our stuff in, so it was fine. Other ones are like, okay, you need to park on this lane, or one they gave us a parking pad. We were in Bath when you were staying in the city, and they're like, okay, park on this street and then come hurry and grab the letter that's in the apartment and then go put it in your window so you don't get a ticket. Because sometimes what you'll see is a place will be a perfect destination for a tourist, but the parking situation isn't, so you're gonna have to think of something else. Now, if you haven't noticed, I'm filming in the rain here, and I do want you to know, don't worry about the rain. People drive very good in the rain here. That's totally fine. Don't worry about that. But don't think it's like huge downpours when you're coming here where it's like, it's like, oh, I can't see, there's so much rain. It doesn't usually get that bad. It's just like a drizzle kind of thing. And I mentioned that because we had fans that asked us, Mark, it rains all the time, and I'm scared to drive in the rain. Look, it's not torrential downpour, okay? This is England, all right? It's just rain, just comes down. Sometimes it's bad, but those times you're not gonna drive anyway. But honestly, I expect to drive in the mist at least sometimes. And that's what I gotta say is, don't forget to really pay attention.
Yeah, we just got rain the last couple of days. When we get rain, it'll come in like just sheets of rain. We just had a big thunderstorm, lightning 2 nights ago, like 3 a.m. in the morning. Just lightning lighting up the sky. It just flashes into your home. Very loud booms of thunder. And the rain came down like you can't even hardly see because the rain's coming down so hard. But then it passes right by. That's how our weather does. It just blows in, blows back out. It could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. We don't get non-stop like light rain. We get like heavy downpours like crazy. Weather just storms in. Tornadoes just storm in. It's crazy. A lot of times it's like the middle of the night. So a little bit of rain, that's fine.
When you are driving. I know you're like, Mark, I do that all the time. I always pay attention. No, what I mean is, with all of these winding roads and the hedgerows and oncoming traffic from the other way, and then, looking and seeing all the beautiful sights, you also need to realize there's also a lot of people that like to walk around the country, you know, so there's this beautiful walking paths all over the country. There might be people walking on the side of the A road. There might be somebody walking on the side of the road, or cyclists, especially when it gets nice out. People get out and cycle a lot of places. I mean, I've gone places like in the Peak District, which was funny because the car I was on didn't have enough power to really go up the hill. And so we'd pass the people on the bikes, you know, when we're driving down, then we get to the hill, they'd pass us, and we kind of go back and forth. So do be aware of that there are bikers, there are walkers, and pedestrians you need to pay attention to. And that's why I say just pay a little bit extra attention, because that one little thing of instead of having the steering wheel on the left, the steering wheel's on the right, kind of throws you off. And I want to mention, if you're going to be driving stick shift, a manual, when you look at it, it's in the same position as in the US. So it's like the first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. It's the same thing. It's not flipped over for you. It's like the other one. So like we have. So it makes life a little bit easier that way. So something else I want to say is when you're driving around England, don't stay in the right lane. You know, there's the left lane drivers in the US where they just stay in the left lane and nobody can pass because they take the fast lane. Well, since we drive on the other side here, it's the right lane that's the passing lane, not the left lane. So if you're going to be going slower, stay to the left, not the right, okay? Because you'll have road rage here just like you do in other places. So put your seatbelt on, okay? Be safe. And if you're going to be driving around in places like the Cotswolds or the Peak District with your kids, or maybe you have a little rough time sometimes with motion sickness, don't forget a little sick bag, because sometimes those winding lanes and up and down kind of roads can get to your tummy, so just be aware of that. But I will say, for certain parts of England, when you're driving around the back roads, the windy roads, the hedgerows and stuff like here in the Cotswolds, if you do get car sick, don't forget to bring your Dramamine, because there are parts of the country where you can get that. You go to the Peak District, you're here in the Cotswolds, that can happen, okay? And I want you to enjoy your time here, not being like, oh, my tummy. And the note I have for you is just like on any road trip, don't forget to go into the shop when you're getting your petrol and go get some of the candy, because the candy here in England is fantastic, and it's different than
I love those ones, chocolate.
So grab some for the road trip, because it's going to make it much more enjoyable, all right? And honestly, if you're driving around places like the Cotswolds, you don't want to pass up parking when you can see it, because sometimes you got to park out of town to walk in, or sometimes you're parking in town and you've got to walk out to see some things like the Wool Church here. So just know that you want to park and leave it to make your life easier. Also, one thing I would say if you're going to be driving around England is don't forget to make like a day pack that you can just grab out of your car, so you're not having to switch stuff back and forth. You can keep everything in the boot, because you're going to stop out and see some of these towns, especially here in the Cotswolds. You literally, it's village
Watch the video about the Cotswolds. You can check it out on my channel.
Take in the market hall or a church, and then you're on your way, and you don't have to lug all your stuff in and out. So do be aware of that, okay? Also, if your parents coming here, I want to tell you this. Don't forget to
need a car seat.
Your baby seat or your car seat when you book your car, okay? Because there's not always a ton of them there when you get the airports, wherever, so make sure that's pre-booked. But we always did when our kids were little. We actually brought our car seats from home because we knew how that worked. We knew how to like lock it in. That made things a lot easier. So what are some of the don'ts you have about driving in England? Because obviously I'm going to tell you, don't skip out on it, because it really helps you explore so much more. The stately homes, the villages, just the countryside.
Okay, really good video. He always seems to give good information. I don't think I'd have too much trouble driving there. If you have any other recommendations for videos, please leave them in the comments. And if you get a chance, please like and subscribe. Till then, see you next time.